I will be professional now. G'day, V, and welcome back to Her Game Take, women's football podcast. I am your host, Charlene.
And I'm your co host, Rumiana.
We had a really interesting and eventful set of first legs last week, and now we're heading into the second leg of the UEFA Women's Champions League quarterfinals, and there will only 4 teams that will remain standing.
As we mentioned last time, we started this podcast because we wanted to give women's football more of the spotlight it deserves, and nights like these are exactly why, because those are the big teams, big players who show up, and everything on the line.
Today we'll be looking at how the ties went this time around, and what the teams achieved, and who went through to the semis.
As a reminder, the 4 quarterfinal ties are the following: Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, the London Derby, El Clasico, Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and Olympique Lyon versus Wolfsburg. Let's get into it. First, we'll discuss the results of the matches in short, kind of like what we did last week's episode. We will start with El Clasico, so Barcelona versus Real Madrid, because nobody really expected it, but here we go. It's an aggregate score of 12-2. So we'll keep this tie very short because, well, the results speak for themselves. Last week's result was 6-2, and this week it was 6-0 now for Barcelona. Um, I think the most interesting thing about this game was that it was Barcelona's legend, Alexia Putellas' 500 game. She scored. She also got an assist in this game. She scored the very first goal in the game in the 8th minute and then assisted 7 or 8 minutes later for the second goal of Caroline Hansen. Irene Paredes also got a goal in Eva Pajor, just like last time. Hansen with the second goal in the second half, and the sixth goal was in the 74th minute by Esme Brutes. Uh, I think whatever we say about this game, it will be enough because truly, truly, the results speak for themselves. I don't think anyone expected Real Madrid to crash that badly and to not be able to respond, actually.
That was a proper demolition job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to see Camp Nou sold out. End of analysis.
Yeah, oh, pretty much because Barcelona through to the semis where they will play Bayern Munich, so that will be quite an interesting tie as well. It will be in 3 weeks, more or less, 25th of April, the first leg, so we're very much looking forward to that. I think we can truly move on to the other games,
Yeah.
truly, because Barcelona left us with not much analysis. So, which is the next game that you wanna talk about, Charlie?
Since you mentioned that they will face Munich, let's talk about Bayern against United, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Bayern went through to the semis after United started out quite strong. In the 11th minute, they scored with Melvin Millar. Then 60 minutes of really not much happening. And in the end, Bayern get back to after corners through Vika Satir and Lina Dahlmann in the 80th and 84th. And yeah, by that they advanced to the semis. I think what was interesting to me is no Schiller up front. I think they only subbed her in after they went down 2-1 and 5 for an aggregate. Speaks volumes about her time in a United shirt thus far. She's only scored once, and that was in an EVFA Cup. She didn't score in the Champions League thus far, neither in the league. And Milan had a different tactical role this time around. Schiller used more space out and out on the wing to deliver crosses to her teammates last week, and Milan was more of a threat in a 1v1 and to get finishes herself. And you could see that early on. I think she had 3 good chances in the first 15 minutes. Obviously, when she scored the goal, there was an individual error by Mamutovic after an inside diagonal, but I think that one's more interesting because Bayern's defense was caught napping there. In general, they were vulnerable to that.
yeah,
And what I also noticed is that both teams were very reactive in their approach. Like in the first leg, it seemed that both the teams focused more on their own strengths, and here they focused how can we prevent the other team from scoring, basically. And
Yeah, there was a lot on the line though, because what got me thinking is that if those two quick goals of Bayern didn't come like towards the end that you mentioned, in 80th minute Vigosdottir and then 4 minutes later Dalman, if those two goals did not happen, basically I think it would have gone to extra time, wouldn't it? Because it would
yeah,
have been 3-3 since United got a goal early on. So do you think that like Bayern, I don't know, got themselves together after the middle of the second half, or what do you think happened there? Because genuinely, if it wasn't for those two quick goals, they were heading to extra time, and then you never know.
yeah, definitely. Bayern focused way more on defending this time around, especially Gilles and Vigastottir, who are the centre backs of Bayern, really had their work cut out for them. And it did work.
Hmm.
But the rest of the team seemed like this like very like surface level psychology, but it didn't seem as secure since what you said, like in the second leg you can always feel more pressure.
Hmm.
Um However, the Bayern centre back pairing really kept it composed. Bayern won 83% of the tacklings, and when you look at the stats, particularly Gilles had an amazing night. I know that Vigastottir is the one scoring, but for me, Gilles is definitely the MVP of this match.
Hmm.
And also, Bayern really lacked quite a lot of ideas in the last third. Do you want to guess how many times Bayern just delivered crosses into United's box?
I don't. Hmm. Tell me.
29 times.
Whoa.
29, that's one every 3 minutes. And like, for those people who have a life, analysts hate crosses because they have a really low probability of resulting in a goal because
Yeah.
they aren't as precise as like normal deliveries, and it's really difficult to like plan those. And also like the center backs are usually the tallest players on the pitch, and so most of them will get cleared anyway. And you can also see that in like the precision, because only 8 out of those 29 actually found their target. And even if a player gets across, it's less precise chance than a player having the ball at her feet.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're quite right with what you said about Bayern lacking in the last third, because I'm looking now at the SofaScore ratings for the players, and Pernille Harder, who was pretty much like woman of the match last time, this time has a score of like 6.3, one of the lowest of the
Yeah,
whole team.
sh-
Uh,
she didn't have an
Bayern, I
awful lot of
mean.
touches, like
Mm,
the center backs, particularly Maya Letizier on United's end, were really on it this time around and didn't
yeah,
give Harder the same sort of space she had last week. Also,
yeah,
Tanikawa being in the starting 11 made a difference, I believe, because last time she got subbed in late and delivered quite long balls towards Harder, and this time she was in a number 10 role, so higher up the pitch than last time, and also started the match, which I think like showed, because like in the last 15 minutes, like Bayern got chances, but they were all after corners. Like there wasn't like the same sort of energy off the bench as last time around. Dahlmann, I believe, had a really good game of in both legs. She had like obviously she has like the role that's like the most pleasing to watch as like a free element in the last third, basically to beat United's man or player marking. She deservedly scored a goal, especially given her first leg performance.
yeah. She's woman of the match according to
Okay.
SofaScore. 8.7, quite a high rating.
I mean, SofaScore always gives it to one of the goal scorers, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, of
and
course, yeah.
and that goal, by the way, corner kick and first ball doesn't get on target, and then Dahlmann drills it in from like 10 meters out, volley.
Yeah.
That's quite some striking ability on display there.
Yeah, I think
And
deservedly so.
yeah,
She's Well, I think United believed in themselves, maybe more than last time around. And I honestly think if it wasn't for those corners, if it went to extra time, it could have gone either way. So my like kind of last question to you would be: I read in a few places online that Manchester United didn't actually expect to come this far to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, or like maybe didn't expect to perform that well because they still got two goals in last time around. And as I said, like truly, I think it was partially luck on Bayern's side, because if it had gone to extra time or penalties even, you never know. It could have been Manchester United standing in the semifinals now. So do you think, did you expect them to come this far? Like, what do you think of their performance in general, like this season
You
in the
mean
Champions League, let's say?
what did I think preseason or?
No, just in general. Did you think that they'll reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League? Because a lot of people online were commenting that they didn't see this coming. Let's say, like they were commenting underneath their posts.
Probably not, but I don't think it's like some sort of miracle run. Like when you look at United squad, I mentioned that last time. Like the recruitment on the transfer market, which was quite opportunistic, could give you like the fantasy of a quarterfinal run at least. I mean, you don't pick up like players like Rolfö or Schüller, and I think Melvin Millar played the for even a bit longer. Those players definitely have like Champions League knockout match quality. I do not think it's like completely out of left field. Look, I'll be honest, I didn't expect that before
Hmm.
it started, but also like I think for example Wolfsburg reaching the quarterfinal is more significant than United. Also given um, the financial resources of the English league nowadays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk about Wolfsburg in just a few minutes, like in more in depth.
And by the way, not
But I
saying
guess
that Wolfsburg don't have no money and like work on a SC Freiburg level budget, obviously not, but
yeah. I also don't feel like that surprised for Manchester United to be in the quarters, and I actually agree with you with this squad. They they are up for good things. So yeah, we'll see how they perform next season. But I think that was quite a good run by them.
yeah. And like I said, like especially when you've got like a Melvin Millar up front, you still got a Rolfö who can assist that. I think I didn't speak about it, but like in my notes, I mentioned Olma a lot. I think she had a, pretty great game.
Hmm.
I believe that we have to look out for this squad in the next 2 to 3 years to come.
Yeah, yeah. I actually am of the same opinion as you on that one. So yeah,
By the way,
wish them
interesting note,
good luck. Yep.
which I didn't get to say earlier. I do not know what to think of Gwyn in the role as a second striker. Because when
Yeah.
you look at it, like in the 25th minute, for example, she goes out of her way from right back. She advances all the way to like left striker, which was definitely an interesting choice, but I don't think that's like her
Yeah.
element.
Didn't work that well.
It did not. They had her up there and then they delivered crosses. Or let me rephrase that. They tried delivering crosses that didn't reach their target.
Mm, yeah. Well, if you don't have anything else to add on Bayern and United, we can focus our attention toward the London derby
Oh, the London
between
brawl.
Arsenal and Chelsea. So, how did you see this game then? It was at Stamford Bridge this time around.
This game was bonkers, girl. So we had 10 exciting minutes at the beginning. Then we have nothing happening until like the 70 something minute. And then enough
Yep.
happens to fill 3 matches.
Yep. That was pretty much it. Yeah. Chelsea really, in my eyes, like Chelsea were all out in these like last
Gloves were
last
off, yeah.
minutes. Yeah, they were just like all in. I think they were like trying for a miracle, but
They had to.
they
They obviously had to. But they threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Arsenal, didn't they?
yeah, literally. We forgot to mention that the like the end result of this tie,
Yeah.
it was 1-0 Chelsea, but the overall result is 3-2 to Arsenal. So Arsenal proceeds in the semis, where um, they will meet Lyon.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
First of all, I do not like talking refs, but I believe we have to do that here, so let's just do that up front. I don't like that
yes,
part,
so
but
there was a bit of a scandal. Yeah, tell us about it, and we can actually discuss that because that was pretty much the most interesting thing that came out of this tie.
oh, I disagree. Um,
Oh, I mean, yeah, one. Let's say one of the most interesting, but
we can
definitely
have
there
different
was
opinions. Okay.
some heat after the game. But tell us about it.
Yeah, I can't find my note as in what minute that happened, but um, Arsenal left back Katie McCabe in an effort to stop a counterattack tried to grab Alyssa Thompson's shirt. Or like she claims that she tried to reach for a shirt but grabbed her
Hmm.
hair instead.
Yep.
And she did not get sent off for that. The referee didn't even like give a foul to Arsenal, which put quite a bit of heat in a game where everything was on the line anyhow. And Sonia Bumpester, the Chelsea head coach, really was very vocal about her protest towards the referee and got sent off with two
Yeah.
successive yellow cards. Which the thing is, I never like when managers complain or yell to the ref too much. I will completely defend Bompasta on that one because how the hell was this not a straight red for McCabe? It wouldn't have changed the result. Don't get me wrong. Arsenal would have still probably advanced because like it happened in the 80 something minute. Like it probably wouldn't have changed the outcome. But Katie McCabe has to get sent off. We cannot have VAR in a high profile match and then let something like this slide. And it's not like this is unprecedented. Like I remember last Euros, Kati Hendrich grabbed, I cannot recall who's he, one of the French attackers, and she also got sent off straight away. Deservedly so. You can't pull someone's freaking hair. Like it's tactical. Yes, it's only a tactical foul, but still, like there's no word in English for Tätlichkeit, which is like unsportive behavior. Uh,
Yeah.
Basically, would I think would be the closest translation. Yeah, lost for words.
Yeah, yeah. I am with you on that one. A lot was written, a lot was said after this happened. Even Sonia Bompastor in the post-match interview,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, she came with the like with the proof. She she pulled like Toto Wolf or what was that meme? With like I have it printed
yes,
out.
yes,
Yes, I mean, I deservedly so. I
iconic.
think she was in all her right to do so because, yeah, very very strange decision, very weird, and as you said, especially when there is VAR, extremely weird. Why did this not get? It did not get picked up, and she didn't even receive a yellow or nothing, like a foul, nothing, nothing. Um,
Yeah,
so this is what I meant when I said earlier that this was like the like quote unquote most interesting part of the game. I don't mean to um you know devoid of meaning the football part and like the football efforts, but this unfortunately this is like the highlight that came out of the game and that was most talked about afterwards. um
right. We forgot to mention between all the yellow cards in the last 20 minutes, also some football was played, wasn't it?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, imagine that.
Chelsea really turned up like early doors. They had like 3 or 4 chances with Suka Nusken assisting one with her back heel, and once shooting herself. In general, Suka Nusken with a very flashy game, I would say. She obviously missed quite a lot of chances, but like her off the ball movement is amazing. She had like the role of a channel midfielder, delivering deep runs, and not exactly like the second striker role she had last week, but this time she like arrived late in the box than Kerr, who's like obviously the center forward of Chelsea. Like she arrived later to either be like a second attacker and give the defense one more to worry about, or like be in the in the space behind the defense as like in a second wave sort of attack, and she got quite a few chances. Just she really needs to convert one. I know that she got one in a 90+3 or something, but that was obviously too little, too late. I really feel a bit for her because like I really liked her when she was in the Bundesliga, and
Mm.
I really hope that like she can get some consistency in next season because I believe it's like career year for her. Like
Yeah.
now it's make or break. Like she had like a year
Yeah.
where she was like a reserve for Chelsea basically, like somebody who just get subbed in sometimes. Now she gets her chance and plays well, but just she looks unlucky to the average football fan, I'd say.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
like like
But
her assists, like her passes, don't lead to assists, even though they're really good in the last third, and she doesn't score herself. Just watch the off the ball movement before she scores her goal. Like the way she runs in a bow and loses her defender and body blocks everybody in the way. That's
yeah,
that's really really good.
yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to mention that I read some rumors that Sam Kerr most likely will be leaving Chelsea. I don't know if you saw that. So if that
Oh,
happens, maybe Newskin can get more of a role in this team, like more of a starting lineup role and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen the rumors, but yeah, Sam Kerr might be headed out of Chelsea.
I didn't see, but maybe if Nuskin improves her finishing, she could like profit if Chelsea bring in like a different sort of striker, like somebody who's like better um
Or that,
at,
yeah,
at,
yeah.
at passing back and like play with the back towards the net, like some like a striker who's like drops deeper and gets more involved in link up play. But I don't
Yeah.
see Nuskin's future up front. I know it has been tried, and I've seen Frankfurt use her as a number 9 occasionally, but
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe that's the best position. Like I do believe like the channel midfielder role does suit her. By the way, also wanted to mention that Arsenal lay back for most of the match, other than Daphne van Domselaar,
Oh yeah, definitely needs a mention. She was
player
quite outstanding this
player of
game.
the match. That was one of the most impressive goalkeeping performances I've seen in quite a while. I've seen a post on Blue Sky, which is like a Twitter alternative, an Arsenal fan saying Chelsea's shots are all like a shitty 2000s movie, straight to DVD.
I love that. Love that joke. Yep, Daphne van Domselaar.
Yeah,
How did you see her game?
amazing. Like she didn't have much to do in terms of build-up play because she didn't have the ball at her feet an awful lot, but what a performance in game in terms of shot stopping ability. Like she saved Arsenal a lot in this tie. I do not
Yeah,
believe that they would
multiple
have advanced
times.
if I really like Anneke Borbe, who played last week, but I do not believe Arsenal would have gone through if Anneke Borbe would have been would have played in goal instead of Van Domselaar.
Yeah, I think Renee Sledgers knew what she was doing, putting Domzelaar for this tie, like this time around, putting
Yeah,
her in goal. I think this was very much deliberate.
yeah, and also Arsenal, like I said, like very passive, similar to what I mentioned earlier with Bayern and United. Like the teams really got how the other team heard them last week around and like was focused on solving that issue instead of focusing on their own strength, which I completely get in a knockout tie, but it also made for more boring football, I would say, up to like
Mm.
90th minute, where as you mentioned, like the gloves were just off. Like when I look at like my chances notes for Arsenal, 15th, nothing happening, and then 71st, 73rd, 74th, 79th, Blackstenius scores an offside goal.
Yeah,
83rd,
I was gonna
89th,
mention.
like Arsenal also like found quite a lot of chances once like Chelsea obviously had to open up and like send everybody up front who's somehow able to score a goal. Lucy Bros played every single role in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say this because an episode of ours won't go unless I mention Lucy Bronze. She is player of the match in this game, 8.9 SofaScore rating, which, yeah, we talked about how these ratings are not the most accurate ever. But still, she's incredible. What an incredible player. Always, always, like when you need her and wherever you need her, she's there.
Other than the Blackstenius offside goal, she was really really great as a centre back. Like this time she didn't wasn't deployed as a fullback because Carpenter was back. In
Mm.
general, I was so happy the commentator mentioning that yeah the quality of the game really picks up now that we've got all the 4 Australians back. Australia mentioned, baby.
Yeah,
especially
I know you love that one.
especially Carpenter had like an amazing game, like as
Mm.
a left basically wing back for Chelsea. Like she played very offensively, did a lot of crosses, made a lot of runs with a ball at her feet.
Yeah,
Great game of hers. Sam Kerr had quite a few chances but couldn't convert any of them. By the way, I've also noted that Chelsea have hit the woodwork 4 times this match.
damn.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
and Arsenal too. By the way, in 90+1, they also hit the post because Arsenal for some reason had like a really high press in like the last 10 minutes or so. Like they were really aggressive, like trying to hurt, which like was unfamiliar in case of how risky it is, because like I get that like Chelsea only had like one or two defenders like left at the back because obviously they had to throw everything up front. And Arsenal really tried to sting them there. And because like just mathematically like it makes sense because there are like fewer players you have to outnumber. I thought that was like really interesting, given that they sat back for majority of the match. But that made for some pretty amazing football. Like in general, I can only recommend watching only the last 20 minutes. Like the game really picks up from like the 68th minute.
I
Just
was gonna say, yeah, the
watch
same
from there
thing.
on out, and Jesus Christ,
Yeah, the last 20 minutes, yeah, that's when the real game happened.
I I take notes like
Honestly.
every chance I deem significant, and I think I have 16 notes just from the 70th minute onwards.
Yeah, sounds like that game. Yeah, uh, some would say unlucky for Chelsea, other would say lucky for Arsenal, with this goalkeeper and like everything that happened. But it is what it is, I guess. Arsenal are through. Arsenal will meet Lyon in the next leg, and I think that's a good segue for us to start discussing our cherry on top of the cake, our game that we'll dive into the most, which is between Lyon and Wolfsburg, which ended 4-0 in an aggregate of 4-1 because Wolfsburg won the first leg 1-0. This one went to extra time, many things happening. Charlie, go ahead, please.
So yeah, Lyon came out guns blazing, basically. Like really high pressing, very attacking, very aggressive early on. And the first chance was after 40 seconds, Hegerberg. And that like set the tone pretty well because after just 16 minutes, Lyon did get the goal, like high press and then linker play. Johannes converts, although it must be said that Minge deflected that shot, so it was unsavable for Stino Johannes in goal, who went on to have a pretty amazing game herself, basically carrying this Wolfsburg team to extra time in the first place. And then I watched it with a friend of mine, and we both thought that like Lyon had more in the tank in terms of energy, but like only 10 more minutes than Wolfsburg. But that that did suffice to get past them here. They were like just a bit sharper for like 10 more minutes, and then in those 10 minutes between like the 95th and the 105th minute, I'd say. They really got in, they got their chances. They missed two sitters, and then in the 98th, they scored an offside goal, and then in the 102nd and 115 plus two, they scored two more, and yeah, then in the 119th, Wolfsburg opened up completely, just two in the back. You know, game put to bed. So I don't think the scoreline reflects how well Wolfsburg played. Because I will say, like, Wolfsburg had an amazing performance in terms of defending. They were like in a very, very deep 5-4-1. Particularly the three center backs really dropped in deep. There were times when in the second half where every single Wolfsburg player was in their own third. And I will also say that Pedamore and Kierland and levels later when she got subbed in for Kierland were really good at like closing those lanes I mentioned for inside diagonals, so the passes from like the fullback position into central spaces up front. You had Pedamore and Kierland sitting really deep and blocking those passing lanes whenever the ball was in the fullback position. And outside of that, Wolfsburg were amazing in what I mentioned last week also, the player-to-player marking. So, like, it wasn't at all, like, to block spaces, particularly whenever it wasn't, to block these particular passing lanes. Like, it was just everybody grab well, everybody grab, a Lyon player and basically follow them anywhere they go. And it worked pretty well. Like the only one they always left open was a white player on the side where the ball wasn't on in any given moment, and that came back to bite them later on because Leo realized, and they also realized that Wolfsburg like to just drop deep in those moments and just leave Lyon with a possession. And the goals were all scored, and also two sitters were created with crosses from the wide player on like around the, I would say, 16 meters out wide, and then just behind the defense when they weren't dropping back to like the touchline just yet. And then on the wide post, someone was available. I think one goal was scored that way, and at least two very high-profile chances were created, which Wolfsburg were really good at preventing in the regular 90 minutes. Like when it comes to big chances, according to SofaScore, both teams only had one in the first 90 minutes. So Lyon had like a lot of chances, but none of them like really high profile. And like I said, Stina Johannes with one hell of a game in Wolfsburg goal, like getting all of those, I'd say I call them half chances saved. Enough yapping from my side for now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I also thought Wolfsburg definitely surprised me because the fact that they managed to go to extra time. And as you said, in these first 90 minutes, not a lot happened in this sense that Lyon got their goal. They got their like going to extra time. Unfortunately, after the extra time, that was going to be my question to you. What happened then? How do you see it? Like, what happened with Wolfsburg for them to crash that badly, so to speak, and for them to get three more goals in their net and ultimately like drop out of the competition. But honestly, because as we said earlier, with Man United and Bayern, who were also pretty close to the extra time, but here it's like very very different story because Lyon actually, after the extra time began, they pulled themselves together and like they are in the semis. But Wolfsburg actually genuinely had a shot there for maybe for a few minutes, but they did have a shot, and the fact that they brought it to extra time. But yeah, what do you think went wrong for them mainly? The one thing that went wrong for them after the 90th minute, what do you think?
Um, I will come back to what I said about the crosses behind the defense when Lyon didn't allow them to drop as deep as they did in the regular 90. I really believe
Mm.
that made the difference because all of a sudden Wolfsburg's defense felt shaky. Moments both Wolfsburg and Lyon realized that Wolfsburg were vulnerable in with this particular play, with what I mentioned with a cross behind the defense. And yeah, all
Yeah.
of a sudden, like the game felt like it was like even more one-sided because, like I said, like they only had one high-profile chance, Lyon, despite dominating the game. And also, Wolfsburg only had one shot on target in the regular 90, but that was such a high-profile one. Hoot after counter cross to Enderman, and it's really, like too much to ask. Like if you because it was only one chance, and the Wolfsburg offense didn't really get much of a ball, and like it's probably too much to ask to like convert for only chance that you got when you are not partaking in the game basically for 70 minutes, because that shot came courtesy of the 28th minute. But if they wanted to go through, that would have been the moment.
Yes,
I
you mentioned earlier when we spoke about Bayern and United that actually United were not that big of a surprise, so to say to you, but Wolfsburg reaching this stage was.
Wolfsburg have been in a decline for a couple of years now, which came courtesy of them. Like they invested in women's football quite heavily in the 2010s, and then recently, like Bayern increased their spending a lot, and Wolfsburg didn't at the same rate. And also, I believe there's like a ceiling with Wolfsburg in terms of like the fan potential they can reach, because it sounds really mean, but like there are Bayern fans everywhere in Germany, and Wolfsburg just aren't the same in terms of that. And I just believe they reached the glass ceiling, and they are still like able to attract quite a number of high-profile Bundesliga players.
Hmm.
When you're like a hot prospect and you get offers by Bayern, Wolfsburg, and take any mid-level English club, the English clubs will be able to pay better salaries and probably give training facilities on par or better than Wolfsburg, and Bayern are a more competitive team.
Yeah.
So
Do you think like similar thing happens with the Bayern, like what happens with the men's team of Bayern? Same thing, not same, but like similar thing happens with the women's teams because seems to me they are on top of the women Bundesliga and with quite a few points difference. Wolfsburg are second, but still, as you said, like something is lacking.
I do want to talk about the Bundesliga some more at another time, and I don't want to like go into detail on this, but I had a discussion recently with a friend where it basically like quintessential was that we are very afraid for the Bundesliga in terms of
Mm,
its competitiveness, because Bayern have fuck, because Bayern drew their first match against promoted team Jena, and
mm-hmm.
since then they've won every single bloody match in the Bundesliga.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I both me and my friend, we believe that the Bundesliga will be a very one-sided affair in the years to come, and we don't, and neither of us sees Wolfsburg seriously challenging Bayern anytime soon. And yeah, Bayern are on route for an unbeaten season, and honestly, at this point, it would be more surprising if they wouldn't get it, and that like speaks volumes about like where the league is at.
Yeah, I think we can dedicate an episode to this because it's a really interesting
Exactly.
topic.
Her game, our take,
So
Bundesliga special.
yes, so definitely, I think it's worth it to like go more in depth in a separate episode. Um, but yeah, so if you don't have anything else to add about Lyon versus Wolfsburg, that game, maybe we can just repeat who the semifinals couples will be, the both semifinals, and then maybe like speak a little tiny bit about predictions, if we may.
Yeah, after the last time went so well, when we both were fairly confident that Leo would just smash Wolfsburg to pieces.
I think we saw in the future.
Oops. Well,
Uh, but I
well,
think this time around,
I wouldn't count that as a win for us because like it went all the way to extra time. So
yeah, I think this time around it will be much harder for us to peak in the future, so to speak, because well, Bayern versus Barcelona. Let's repeat who the ties are: Bayern versus Barcelona and Arsenal versus Lyon. Mm, for me, it's quite unpredictable. Honestly, I Barcelona are very strong. Most likely, they will be one of the finalists. But between Arsenal and Lyon, me personally, I don't know what to think. It can go either way. And then in the final, again, no clue who will. Barcelona are quite strong, and if Bonmati, there's Aitana Bonmati, their star, comes back by then, like by the time for when the final comes, which is 23rd of May. If she's back, then maybe they'll get another one in the bag. They're really strong. They're
but
really
what
strong.
if Bayern get Clara Bühl back for the semis?
Well, then even more interesting ties for us. Hopefully, she's back. She recovers. Um, honestly, yeah, it can go either way because as we see, not Chelsea is a strong team, but Chelsea and Man United, both of them, I think, quite unlucky, so to speak. Like especially towards the end of their games, it could have gone either way for both of them. So you never know. Arsenal are also really strong as well. They're Champions League winners as well. Um, I will always love a Barcelona versus Arsenal final, even though it will be a repeat. But that will be interesting. But yeah, let's wait and see. I guess. What do you think? How will the semifinals go? Give us a prediction.
I'm a pessimist, and the same way I believe that the Bundesliga is really wrapped up for this season and the years to come. I believe that the Champions League is a closed shop in terms of that. I don't see anyone but Barcelona and Arsenal winning anytime soon, unfortunately. So if I was a betting woman, which I'm not, I'd say that Barcelona and Arsenal will probably progress to the final. And hello, this is Charlene in Post. We had quite a few technical gremlins this time around, from lost audio tracks and internet issues and stuff crashing and me not being able to finish a freaking sentence in the intro. But we made it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to tell us how you felt about these games. I certainly had a lot of fun analyzing them, watching them, and discussing them on here. And yeah, also feel free to leave us any feedback if you wish to do so. And yeah, have a nice day. Good on ya.